Hours after taking office, President Trump signed an executive order banning DEI initiatives across the federal government. He also ordered a review of federal grants to make sure that they're not being used to finance any DEI initiatives. So we've seen companies nationwide, huge companies like Target, following suit, disbanding their DEI initiatives and programs. Today, Google said it would end its diversity hiring targets. As we work to understand the impact of the end of diversity initiatives, we just want to have some real conversation. We wanted to talk to somebody locally who does that work. So for today's Justice Gap, we are joined by Mercedes Blea-Davis, who is the Senior Manager of Diversity and Belonging for the Denver Schools of Science and Technology. And full transparency, Mercedes is a girlfriend of mine, and we were having a conversation this week because you just got back from a DEI conference, and I do want to talk about that. But just on the ground, you're the boots on the ground doing DEI work affecting our children. Talk about what it is that you do.
So as the Senior Manager of Diversity and Belonging, my team, small but mighty, is composed of 3 people. So my Chief Equity Officer, Dr. Aaron Griffin, and then the Senior Manager, of Equity and Inclusion, Salvador Ramirez. We have 16 schools total with 8 different campuses. And Dr. Griffin handles more of the larger spectrum of DEI, right? And so myself and Salvador split up the schools between ourselves and interact with everyone from school leadership, students, parents, honestly, any of the stakeholders that are involved in the DSST community. That does also include our central offices. And so when there are DEI concerns, those come to us. We also have individuals on campus that we train to work the intercampuses DEI concerns that happen. So we'll go in there and do professional development sessions, provide resources. But honestly, since the election has happened, obviously our DEI efforts on campuses have grown tremendously. So we've been answering questions. Oh, they've grown. Yeah, because there's a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and a lot of uncertainty within our staff, our students, and even just families, not really knowing what's coming next. What does that look like for the schools? Are the schools being closed down? Because, a lot of the funding for organizations who are still supporting DEI, and honestly, DSST has we have no desire to stop any of our DEI efforts because we know that being in this space is assisting individuals from all walks of life, right?
So what do you, just from overall like a derogatory stance, right? I mean, if our federal government, the administration is looking at DEI as if it is something negative, it is something unnecessary, how does that affect you? I'm just curious, mentally and emotionally when you're trying to do your work every day.
Honestly, it's extremely difficult because talking to people with tears in their eyes and the look of fear on their face, it's really hard. And especially because a lot of the times we're going to sleep and then once we wake up, there's a new policy that's been put out or something that has been canceled. So for me, being an individual who has taught love is what I tell people for the past 20 years, I often turn to like SEL, social emotional learning in those spaces to use like my compassion, my empathy, and just a lot of those self-awareness and social awareness skills, because a lot of times people just want a friend. They want to have someone that they can go to that's going to give them the straight answers and who's going to just, help them get through what is going on.
Yeah. We only have a minute left, but I do want to ask you a couple more things because I do want you to talk about, you went to a conference, a DEI conference that was bringing educators from all over the country to one place. What was that like?
You know what? It was phenomenal. It was the Diverse Charter School Coalition, and being with like-minded DEI individuals, there were a lot of questions, but there were also a lot of solutions in regards to what they're doing in their spaces, how they're prepping and prepping staff, and just how they're overall communicating with the folks that they're interacting with. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful space to be in.
And are kids aware? Do they know what's happening on the national level?
They do. I actually have a 13-year-old daughter, Gentry, and she asks me questions on a constant basis because she has friends, who may be affected, or honestly, just any of the young people that I work with the various organizations. They have questions, and our youth today definitely have access to Google and to other search engines. So they're looking at things, may not understand them, but they're asking all of the right questions.
Yeah, and you recognize DEI. If you're a little, brown or black girl or boy, you know that this is affecting me. Am I going to have, the
Absolutely.
same opportunities that I have now, the opportunities that I deserve? Thank you just for a
Absolutely.
personal, right,
Oh, no.
perspective on
Absolutely.
this. We appreciate you for being here, Mercedes.
Absolutely. Thank you.